into this draft. So I'm gonna go find those earrings, and so you're gonna cover this draft.
Thank you very much, Dio. Right into champions.
Wow.
Like bands out of the way, Nico off the table. Not a huge surprise there. A little bit of a focus towards the jungle from Fluxo, trying to pinch that champion pool for Flawless. Is still going to get the Sejuani as well as the Olaf locked in there for Lonely. So, hey,
Okay.
RFC, you were asking for a little something different here from Lonely in this matchup up against Tay. Is going to be up against that Poppy. What are your thoughts there on that Olaf pick?
I really like the Olaf because that is something where you don't have to crush your lane if you do good, but you will have impact and you can kind of run amok. There's not really much that Ty can do to try and deal with that. What concerned me a lot more is the fact that neither Azir nor LeBlanc was banned against Fluxo, and it wasn't first pick to LeBlanc. So how is this going to get his hands on that pick again? And I've said it before, I'll say it again, I've not been a fan of Kai'Sa out of the hands of Trigo for anybody.
We'll see if maybe Raven can show up strong on it. Important to note that you can flex that Kai'Sa into mid if you so choose. Of course, we saw Crastiel on a marksman yesterday, the Ezreal that he was successful on. Maybe the Kai'Sa is a similar choice. Of course, it does bring that static shiv to the table, so that is an option for Kabum. So we'll keep an eye on that. Into the second ban phase, Fluxo, eyes on support. Both of them looking to hit that support pool as the Nautilus and the Rakan taken off the table. The Annie also going to be dropped. So Crastiel's Ezreal is available, and that mid lane pool has been pinched just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to see, what Crastiel wants to opt for, because originally when we think of Crastiel, when he first came back to the league as a mid laner after his stint in support last split, we were still thinking of him on roaming utility mid laners, like Galio, for example. And now that I've seen the Kai'Sa and the Olaf already picked up from Kabum, it's actually not a bad spot to pick the Galio if you want. You can kind of lock people down and able to dive, and we've mentioned before, Kai'Sa loves dives, but okay, I'm not going to adjust the hover, because it's not a hover, it's a lock.
Address it!
Okay, yes, I was going to say, you called it right with potentially a Kai'Sa mid for Crastiel, right? Especially after his Ezreal performance. And I think that's what we're going to see, as Ashe Braum got picked up instead for Kabum. So, strong disengage, not as great poke as we've seen before, but pretty decent team fighting, especially extended team fights.
You've got great engage tools with the Sejuani Glacial Prison, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow from the Ashe. You've got the disengage from the Braum. And of course, like, so many tools to set up Crastiel for those killer instincts. This is a fascinating team composition. Important to note, this is the first time that we have seen Ashe in CBLOL. This split is going to be picked up here for Raven. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that pick in particular? Because that is the one that stands out the most in this champion select.
Sorry, the Ashe pick?
Yes.
Well, the Ashe is actually incredibly lane dominant, and it's interesting to Varus as well, because Varus in specific used to be lane dominant with the poke build. Now he's not. He still has poke, but he will actually lose the poke war to Ashe. Volley is on a much shorter cooldown. She can spam that a lot better, and so when I see this pick, like you mentioned, partially it's a really solid pickup later on for utility for the team on a player who has been struggling to carry, but in lane as well, he can potentially get lane priority, help to assist the other laners, and maybe try and keep Bruntsy and Jojo down a little bit.
Let's bring Dia back in as we get ready to hit the rift. A little bit of spice there. Poppy going to the jungle. The Ashe coming through. What are your thoughts on this champion select, my friend?
Oh, sorry. You've actually. I was just writing down what Kabum were picking so that I could use it in a TFT game later, because actually it looks like it might be really effective. This is certainly going to be an interesting game, given what Kabum have pivoted with. The Ashe, I don't know how I feel about it, especially given Redbird on Braum. This is going to be yet another time that he's pulling out the champion. I know that he just played it recently, but up against Fluxo, this might be something that not everybody's looking at. I was really looking forward to the Redbird JoJo matchup, because they're both really powerful engaged supports historically, and now they have the tools to do it. So that's the matchup that I'm looking at, So I don't know, RMC, how you feeling about it as we get on to the Rift?
I have just very mixed feelings about these competitions. I like the fact that Kabum has gone non-standard, though. That much I will say, because they weren't winning with standard. So might as well go something a little bit zany. I guess my eyes are a little bit more drawn to the mid lane, because picks aside, I'm still thinking Crossdale and House are going to be big carries for their teams. And so I want to see how this Kai'Sa mid does into LeBlanc. My guts tell me that it's going to get dangerous for Crossdale because you're up against Assassin. But in Crossdale, I believe right now. Like, Kabum needs their first win. And Crossdale still looks like their best shot.
All I know is that while it will lose this game, Static Shiv will get a win this game as well, which has been the trend. We were looking at the stats yesterday and through week 3. Static Shiv had only won in games where it was bought on both sides of the map. So we'll get that case here once again in the same lane. So keep an eye on that. Also curious to see what Brunsey opts for. Important to note, you've highlighted the Hail of Blades is better kind of for that AP bursty build. Is the lethal tempo here for Brunsey, so keep an eye out for whether or not he wants to go something on that build. Flash away early here from Raven. This is going to feel really, really bad. That's going to be first blood over to Desamis. Fluxo backing away. It looks like Kabum biting off a little more than they could chew. That's going to be Redbird falling as well. Crastiel going to get taken down. It's a 3 for 0 for Fluxo at level 1.
It's a slaughter, Yeso. This is not what Kabum were looking for to pick up their first win, and it comes from a lone ward that Brunsey had put into the bush. The entire time there was information inequality. Kabum thought they were being sneaky. They were looking for a delayed invade, but Fluxo were sat waiting, collapsed the trap, and look where the kills have gone. Brunsey picks one up, Ty picks one up, Desamis picks one up. It's not the worst distribution for Kabum. But still, giving any sort of kills over to these guys is going to be a massive problem.
I'm so sad because I truly love Giraffe from Kabum here, but that just sets them so far behind to start this game. So they're going to be in a really tough spot. The one good thing is that, due to the timing of that fight, Fluxo does not get to take advantage of backing and getting, an extra longsword or something to bring into lane. So at the very least, these lanes are still dead even. Fluxo does not get to take advantage of this gold lead just yet. So Kabum can make up some ground.
True. The only person who didn't manage to buy an item was Tay. And Tay is going to lose out a little bit because of that in terms of experience. Crastiel.
Desamis into this mid lane, uses that steadfast presence. Crastiel's going to go down, and that is House on the board now as well. So everybody but JoJo has got a kill on the side of Fluxo.
I'm going to change my lane to watch. I'm with you now. Let's go watch Redbird and JoJo, because mid lane's looking a little bit doomed. The Assassin snowballing ahead is doubly problematic for Kabum, because if House gets far ahead enough, Lonely is going to find problems trying to survive, especially before he gets the tanky items. Raven is very, very vulnerable. Redbird can block a lot of things with Unbreakable, but LeBlanc's Distort is not one of them. If she gets past that Unbreakable, suddenly Raven is just fresh meat.
Oh man, Kabum in a very difficult position. That is a 1,500 gold lead before the 4-minute mark, ladies and gentlemen. Like that, damn. That is a feels bad man if I have ever seen one. So I'm gonna ask you, RMC. Okay. I need some copium here. All right, I need you to tell me how Kabum is gonna totally bring this one back and win this game.
Well, yeah, so sometimes when you're having a bad day, you don't want to be around people. You just want to lock yourself in a room and be lonely. And I'm looking at Lonely that top lane right now because he did get an experience advantage against Tay because of the early action. And he's got Olaf. If there is a champion who can try and take over a game on this map, it's LeBlanc. But besides LeBlanc, it's Olaf. So, Lonely. Gank Lonely, get him ahead, and then get Lonely rotating to the other lanes, running people down and winning these fights. Flawless, though. Again.
He's in trouble. Flashes over the wall, get him away for the time being. Distortion over the wall from House. The Chase does have the blast cone for safety and will get out of trouble. So what you're telling me is Kabum is just trying to look at literally what happened yesterday, right? They play against Red, early kills, right? Dominating the lane, and then the Olaf on the other team became a problem, and they lost. And Kabum is going, okay, Uno reverse. It's our turn to get behind early and then have our top lane Olaf take over the game.
Exactly, yeah. So we'll mess up the early game. We'll have deaths left and right, but it's okay because we've got Olaf. Yeah, they're just trying to set the stage for their performance. I mean, it's working so far. Lonely is proxying on that top side, so look at the CS differential as well. 22 CS. Don't look bot. Don't look at what the camera's showing you. So just focus your eyes on Lonely if you're a Kabum fan.
Okay. I see him. I'm watching him. I'm not even looking at what is on. I'm just looking at my mini map in the bottom right of my screen. That is all that matters. I see an Olaf proxying waves.
Thank you, observer.
Are we singed? Kabum singed? Is this what I'm watching?
Better than Singe, because Olaf will do more. Okay, we do have to address
There.
Distracted go down, of course, from Fluxo, and well played from them. They have the lead. They know it. They're pushing it on their end of things. The question, of course, is how quickly can Fluxo snowball? Mid lane, despite dying twice now, Crosstail is still even in farm, and once you kind of pick up the static shiv, things get a little bit better because you just auto a wave, Q it, walk away. You're good. Don't even interact with that LeBlanc. The big part where Fluxo can look to accelerate the match is in the bot lane, where Bruntsea has managed to open up the lead, matching the top side.
Samus getting into the mid lane here, maybe considering activating some action on a Flawless and Crastiel. They will back away for the time being. How's maybe going to get the snare there, but Arctic Assault gets Flawless out of trouble for the time being. And Samus maybe thinking about going up to this top lane. This Olaf, of course, the one shining light for Kabum in this early game as they try to close that gap. Important to note, we talked about that gold lead at 4 minutes. It has not grown over the last 3, and this is going to be JoJo getting into the mid lane, and it might just be the immediate caster curse as there goes Crastiel. House with his second kill.
This is why I always hesitate.
I just need to keep my mouth shut, I think, RMC.
I can see that you're a Fluxo fan, so that's all I'm going to
Sorry,
say.
Kabum. I literally said I was a Kabum fan 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, but well played from Fluxo. We did say that they need to continue snowballing, and you did rightly point out that Kabum had managed to sort of balance things out, stem the bleeding, and kind of equalize. And of course, the more gold you have, the less 1,000, 2,000 gold lead matters. Now, Fluxo continue their oppression. They take that bot side jungle away from Flawless, and the sort of follow-up to that as well is if Flawless doesn't have camps at the bot side, he has less reason to be there, and that isolates Redbird and Raven, who are already struggling with the 2v2 right now.
Flawless, though, now is into the spot side. Shrugs alive, as well as his red buff looking to maybe get in on this bottom lane, waiting for an angle to open up here as Brunsey and JoJo have crashed this wave, and just hoping for them to step forward. That Arctic Assault and the Glacial Prison will land, forces the Cleanse and Flash out of Brunsey, so 2 very key summoner spells on a very immobile target there. Well executed gank from Flawless.
Yeah, and you know what? If this happens to your solo queue, you'd probably say that, oh, your support trolled your AD carry. At this level, for Brunsey and JoJo specifically, I love the fact that Brunsey ate the ultimate from Flawless. He ate the Glacial Prison because he had the cleanse, because he had the flash, and JoJo didn't. If JoJo gets caught, JoJo dies. But instead, they're perfectly fine. And we still see the action continue.
Oh, Flawless right back in here. Brunsey gets knocked up on the ultimate from Redbird. That's going to be a kill for Raven. So Kabum is on the board. Maybe looking for more there on a JoJo. Keeper's Verdict launches the Sejuani out of there. Oh! JoJo able to flash out of trouble. But Kabum is on the board.
Good re-gank from Flawless. Zero hesitation, just went right back in. You know you blew the flashes. You knew the cleanse was down. And that's the thing about Ashe as well, is that she's strong, first of all, with the itemization of Trinity Force, but also you can't run from her. Once you engage on that Ashe, or she engages onto you, it's flash, dash, or die. And in this case, no flashes, no dashes. You saw the rundown occur. I'd love to see Kabum kind of go back to that bot lane if they're able to replicate this. I didn't think bot would be a good place to gank, but honestly, I'm reconsidering that while those summoners are down for Fluxo.
Yeah, and I think the point you made talking about Brunsey doing a good job of eating that initial engage in the first gank from Flawless because he has a cleanse and backing away is specifically important, because if you get hit by any sort of CC from Kabum, it's so easy for them to lock you down, because with Redbird right there, he can immediately start stacking his passive to get the chain CC. Raven is going to slow you into oblivion, so being able to eat that first initial crowd control from the Glacial Prison, cleanse and flash away, if JoJo takes it, he dies, guaranteed.
Yeah, and that's both Ripper and Flawless is sort of stacking passive. Now, Fluxo, they've gone for Herald, and they just have a lock on objectives. Despite the glimmers of brilliance we saw from Kabum, it is very conditional, one, on the CC that you're talking about, so kind of like the ultimates as well as their ability to land a lot of these skill shots, but also depending on who's in the area. Bruncy and Jojo don't have a lot of mobility. If you try the same thing onto House, House just kind of laughs at you as he dashes away. Desamis just goes keeper's verdict if you try and punish him. So Fluxo still feeling very confident in being able to secure these objectives as long as their jungle mid duo are moving to them.
How's going to rotate down to the bottom lane, clear out that wave. They've moved Bruncy up to mid. And important to note, looks like he will be going that AP build. Does have that static shiv first purchase here. So important to note, that does mean a bit of a lack of physical damage from this Fluxo lineup. So Lonely and Flawless, you can index pretty heavily into magic resist as well as Redbird and be pretty beefy up against House and Bruncy that are going to carry the lion's share of the damage.
I will also caution that you can still build hybrid even with static shiv, with Quinsus and on-hit sort of items. So I don't want to call it just yet. And I think for Fluxo, it might also depend on how Ty's lane is going in the top side. Because he, as you mentioned, is their primary physical damage. So if Ty is winning out and doing well, great. If he has to go full tank, which hey, he built Thornmill, so it's looking that way, we might see Bruncy actually index towards that on-hit build with lethal tempo, which still does a lot of work. It won't spike the damage as hard, but hey, that's what you picked House's LeBlanc for.
We'll keep an eye on it here. Fluxo gonna get that second Drake, so that domination over the neutral objective continues. Next one up will be that Rift Herald in just about 4 minutes. Bruncy just gonna be able to get away from Redbird there. Yeah, important to note that Braum's strong suit isn't engage. It's counter engage and kind of that secondary follow-up once that initial CC lands, being able to chain it thanks to his concussive blows passive. But if you're trying to engage with Redbird, you're not normally going to have a good time. Rift Herald.
Oh, okay, wait. Oh, no, go back!
They went away! We're fighting in the top lane. Down goes Lonely, and I'm sorry, RFC. I'm so sorry. I was ready for it, too.
I'm so sad. You know, I was already... So, a little bit of behind the scenes. When Trajan and Rude were on earlier, our producer was joking with them that wouldn't it be funny if RMC doesn't get to say pay because you guys beat him to the punch. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Payne managed to defend the Eye of the Herald, but it looks like the observer's in on the joke, and they're not going to give me my pay today. We did see... Let's talk about Lonely, though, because we did see Lonely go down. Lonely had been playing with fire for quite a while there. Like, even we saw a little glimpse of that before Herald got dropped. He was still proxying, and eventually he does get punished by House rotating up. And this is why I wish that Flawless had ganked topside a little bit more, because if Lonely had gotten a kill or two, maybe he answers back. Maybe he's going to consistently draw 2 members up top and either trade 1 for 1 or even survive those ganks.
Okay, Ravenous your first purchase for Lonely, so good little bit of sustain, helps him clear those waves even easier. Raven, meanwhile, trying to keep this final bit of health on this mid lane tower alive as Bruncy is here clearing out these waves very easily. Meanwhile, House fighting with Crastiel! And it's the shutdown. Crastiel on this Kai'Sa is online.
Told you, man, Crastiel is really, really good. And the fact that he went down to Academy for a split and, you know, played support for a split, that saddens me. And I'm glad that we're seeing how good he can be. And I want to highlight too, this is again against a LeBlanc, an assassin who item-wise is matching Crastiel item to item. So Kabum still has glimmers of hope. The big question to me is, how do they tie all of it together? Because as much as they've found some glimmers of brilliance, they've not managed to secure any neutral objectives just yet.
Yo, I just realized, look at how Crastiel sits in his chair. In the CBLOL studio, he's got his feet up on the chair and his knees up. He looks very cozy. I don't know that I've ever seen a professional player sit like that in a professional game, and I love it.
Hey man, if that gives me the mechanics of Crastiel, I'll do it in my solo queue all day long. And You know what? Maybe he's feeling a bit defensive. He sensed that Fluxo was gathering around looking for a gang. Thankfully,
Yeah.
Kabum was able to respond, defend him, but it does come at a cost of losing control of that mid lane.
I love it. Crastiel on the board now. And look, let's be clear. It is a good lead for Fluxo right now. 15.5 minutes in. They're up by right about 3,000 gold. They are the only ones that have picked up a tower. That is going to be the cleanse there from Bronzy. Good Shannon Crystal Arrow from Raven. So Fluxo is still in command of this game. They have dominated the neutral objectives, and they are ahead in gold. But Kabum, again, has slowed this game down very, very well over the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and part of that I think is also partially Fluxo is willing to do that. As you mentioned, the strong priority on neutral objectives. Well, Herald's coming up in 20 seconds, Dragon in 1. And I think Fluxo is just kind of sitting back, farming up. And they're going to wait for these because Kabum, they're doing well individually. Lonely's doing well, Crastiel's doing well. But when they group up, that's the big question. Those aren't big necessarily team fighting or AoE threats. They're good at skirmishing, but in a full 5v5, especially with the Poppy on your side, I think Fluxo still hold all the cards.
Fluxo looking to continue the control of these neutrals. They're going to start up this Rift Herald. 35 seconds
like
till
clockwork.
the next Drake. So keep an eye on possibly Kabum taking this Rift Herald, immediately walking it to mid. It's not necessarily quite as effective. And you kind of already have what you're looking for to control that mid wave to set up for a Drake with that first tower down. But it is an option that Desamas could just walk to mid, drop the Herald, walk to Drake. But looks like he's going for a little bit of an invade, take some of those blue side camps away, and is actually just going to drop the Rift Herald top lane, allow House to take down a tier 2 tower.
Yeah, and I think this is the right call because...
Oh,
There we go, we got it! Yeah, so finally, and unfortunately they got Crastiel.
Yeah, Crastiel's going to go down here. Did have the killer instinct to buy a little bit of time, but Desamas is going to be able to knock him down, but maybe Kabum can get more back in return, but they just can't get access to House here, and it's too difficult to take down the Poppy, as there goes Redbird as well.
Yeah, the moment Crastiel went down, they just didn't have the damage to actually be able to follow up, and because Kabum committed so much resources top, they didn't go for Dragon, which was open, and again, they're losing control of mid lane. You don't need Herald to take mid when nobody's there to defend it.
Good job from Fluxo moving around the map and knocking these structures down. Lonely gonna get a little bit of income back for the team as he will take that tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. Desamas is down here with Hex Flash available, and Jojo and Ty coming on the flank, so Lonely could be in trouble here. Does have the ultimate available, waiting to use it. Flashes over the wall. House maybe looking for the chase, but Lonely will get out with his life.
That actually got kind of risky. I was thinking, can Lonely turn the tides? And I was thinking he could until I saw House, and I was like, no. Not against House, he can't. House picking up the Night Harvester already, so his burst damage is going to be absolutely disgusting, only flawless. I feel is going to be confident enough to be able to step up in the face of this LeBlanc. And again, yeah, so it feels like the strangulation we saw from last game is carried over to this one. Fluxo, just a complete, absolute domination at these neutrals. That's so point at 1840. This is pretty much as close as you get in a professional game to getting to the fastest sort of soul that you can look to get.
Look, you were already kind of setting the stage talking about, as this game continues, Kabum good in the skirmishes, but in terms of those 5v5 team fights, that composition doesn't quite excel in that part of the game. Is Brunty going to get caught there once again by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow? Does have that cleanse available in the Glacial Prison. Not enough there, and Brunty will get out of trouble. But the problem now is, I don't know that Kabum's going to get the pick to play for skirmishes, because they're likely going to have to team fight 4 minutes from now to try and prevent Soul.
Yeah, and one thing I want to highlight too is Kabum looking to make these plays happen. We've seen 3 Enchanted Crystal Arrows on Brunty 3 times. Like, if you played those replays back to back to back, you probably think we just had one on Luke. The problem is the timing of it, right? Like, they're throwing those out. What objectives are up when they do that? Herald's down, Dragon's down, Baron hasn't spawned, right? So even if you do get the pick onto Brunty, so what? I'd much rather see Kabum hold those for better timings when there actually is something on the board to play for. Oh my goodness, we knew it was going to be disgusting, but that hurt to watch.
Yeah, and the other point is, the 3 times we've seen it, Brunty has had cleanse up and available, so they haven't punished him having that cooldown not available as there is Redbird taken down. So, you know, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow cooldown much shorter than that Summoner spell, but Kabum has not taken advantage of that window as of yet.
True, yeah, that's very fair. Like, that's another way to do it, right? If you really want that kill, repeat the gank. Heck, we saw Flawless kind of do it in the bot lane the first time, right? And so you're aware of it, but they just haven't been able to transition that into the mid lane. And now Fluxo just threatening over and over and over again right now. Crosstail with the Gnasher's Tooth could probably win an extended trade with House, but at least in the poke war, you're seeing House now play the LeBlanc as she's meant to be a static ship. She's not an assassin, she's a poke champion.
Yeah, she is a poke champion, but I feel like if House just wants to commit a full rotation of spells, that he just kills Crestio.
Yeah, if he can land the chains, I fully 100% agree.
So like, I don't think you're getting that like extended trade.
True. Yeah, if you stick around, you'd have to dodge both distorts, or at least one of the two distorts, as well as chains probably, with how much damage Crosstail is taking. And yeah, so we've been kind of dancing around this. Baron is on the table, and it looks like Fluxo have finally decided we want to force this. I think for Fluxo here, you go for Baron. If Kabum don't answer, you take it, you push to end. If they respond, you're not focused on the Baron. You're looking for the turn to kill as many members of Kabum as you can.
Yeah, and this is an unfortunate moment here for Kabum because this game state typically would dictate, hey, we give away the Baron, we try to stall out and, you know, absorb whatever pushing is going to come through. But with what Kabum has been unable to do on the map and how Fluxo has taken every structure they've been able to get their hands on,
oh no,
it's just too easy for them to go and push for the win here. As Fluxo is maybe looking for this engage in the middle lane, and the problem is House has got them boxed in down towards this bot river.
Oh man, Chains of Corruption didn't land from Bruncy, which is probably the saving grace for Kabum. If that had landed, they'd have died. And now there is an opportunity for Kabum to try and look for a pick of their own. They do have all their big team fight tools available, and you can see that Fluxo are staggered right now as they're trying to block the approach into the Baron Pit. Lonely already half health.
Yeah, also important to note, Cleanse back available for Bruncy. Heavy engage there onto Redbird. Able to buy a little bit of time, but he is finally going to go down. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes through, but they haven't been able to kill anybody. It's a double kill as Lonely will fall always quickly after a triple kill. There is the Sejuani is on, and now it's just Crestiel remaining to keep Kabum's hopes alive.
I'm sorry, Yeso, that I hate it when I'm right sometimes, right? We call it the Fluxo game plan, go for Baron, look for the turn. And that was entirely what they did. Kabum wasn't willing to full commit onto Jojo or House, who's on the side. House is a lot more slippery. And because of that, because they held everything, they took so much damage going into the fight. And as we get the replay, like I said, watch Jojo's positioning, because Jojo's out there basically as a ward. And if you burn everything on Jojo, Fluxo's happy because they win the fight. But if you don't, then, well, Fluxo get the engage they want, as you saw. And now House gets going onto the back line. They're unprotected because your front line is committed to a fight with other tanks who are not going to die. And that's going to happen every single team fight right now for Kabum. You need to find picks of your own. You cannot opt into these bigger team fights.
Just unfortunate that Kabum really, since minute one, has just never been in a position with a significant amount of agency in this game. You know, I don't necessarily blame this game on how that level one went, but they've just had to play from behind for so long, and it's meant that Fluxo has been able to continually set up the map the way that they want, get the engages in the team fights when they choose, and Kabum has just been kind of led around by the nose throughout this game.
Yeah, and I love that you highlight that from Fluxo. They're the ones setting up these game states. They're doing it so well that it almost feels natural. But they're getting to objectives first. They're setting good vision down. And even the way they're pressuring right now, look at this 3-1-1 split from them. Because they know that Kabum can't really answer this. And even now, they're threatening a dive.
Keeper's verdict just says, Flawless, you better back away. This tower is ours. Kabum wants to put up a defense. House on his way here. Distortions over the wall. We'll get some damage there onto Lonely. Meanwhile, the Glacial Prison will force Fluxo to back away for the time being. Tay has to step backwards momentarily. Flawless has to back up. Steadfast Presence will force him to walk away, and that's bot lane inhibitor quickly followed by the one in mid lane as Fluxo have their eyes on a win.
Raven gets chunked with just a look from House, and the Keeper's verdict charged up because the cooldown's so short, and now it's isolated. 2 members against 5.
Yeah, double distortion in one Nexus tower falls. They try to get the engage. They're onto
Ooh,
Desummist,
good
but they
exhaust.
can't get anything done. Lonely, Redbird, and Crassio have to retreat to the safety of their fountain to heal up Raven, doing his best alongside Flawless to clear out these waves, but that's the engage.
down.
Desummist is down. Jojo locks down the rest of Kabum, and while he will fall, the Nexus
Look at how-
likely quickly follows after him. It's a double
Okay,
kill
Crassio.
for the LeBlanc, and Crassio survives, but his Nexus will not do the same. The shutdown doesn't matter. Fluxo take the win.
And they do it in style, yeah. So never a